We are living through the single biggest shift in human communication in modern history. And it's not what you think. Gen Z is quitting social media in droves. Not because they're tired of scrolling, but because they're tired of people. Not all of them, not overnight, but in numbers big enough that studies now show clear trend lines, they are pulling back. Some are even trading in their smartphones for flip phones. No, sorry. That's the one, thank you. According to one study, half of today's young people say they wish they lived in a world without social media. 1 in 5 wishes there were no mobile phones at all. And nearly 70% dream of a time before smartphones, even though they had never experienced it. Now, this offline trend is slowly becoming a global movement, a longing for a world without constant ads and algorithm-driven noise. A world where we connect freely and directly. At first glance, it doesn't make sense. Aren't these the very people we call the online generation? Well, they obviously know something is broken. When an entire generation starts to change how they communicate, it's not just a trend, it's a signal, and we better take it seriously. Then just add a good portion of artificial intelligence on top of everything. Who knows where it all will end? Of course, this is not happening just online. Poor communication is everywhere. You felt it too. You explain yourself super clearly, yet people fail to understand. You walk into a meeting, contribute your best ideas, and leave wondering if anyone heard even one word you said. You try to connect at home and instead end up in an argument about, well, nothing. And over time this damages trust, harmony, even your confidence. More and more people are longing for something deeper, real communication, true connection. The honest desire is simple and very human, to walk into any conversation and make people feel seen. So they listen, say yes, and leave in a better state than they arrived. The one human skill AI cannot replace, the ability to connect so deeply people can't ignore you. And if you clicked on this video, you probably feel it too. You sense that something isn't working anymore, and you're right. And this connection hurts. But good news coming your way. You don't need years of psychology studies to fix this. You don't need a library of self-help books. You don't even need to change who you are. Imagine walking into a tense meeting and within 60 seconds the room exhales. Shoulders drop, phones go face down, and people finally lean in. Imagine your partner's face softening mid-argument because you switched one sentence and they felt heard. Imagine a skeptical client shifting from crossed arms to, okay, I see your point, without you talking faster or louder. Maybe you're wondering, who is this? Well, I am Thomas Erikson, behaviorist, public speaker and mentor. Every year I give around 120 keynotes worldwide, from private citizens to CEOs of global corporations. I once coached a manager who thought being clear was the answer to everything, but her team heard her as harsh and unapproachable. We changed just 2 small habits, and within a couple of weeks her one-on-ones completely flipped. The message here is simple. If you want to connect with more people, you need a system. But I'm also an author. My book, Surrounded by Idiots, with the subtitle How to Understand Those Who Cannot Be Understood, has sold more than 8 million copies in 70 languages. It's actually one of the most translated books of our time. Now, I'm not saying this to impress you, but rather to impress upon you that what I'll share here obviously resonates with millions of people on every continent. It's powerful, it's practical, and if you have about 35 minutes, it can change how you deal with people forever. If you don't have 35 minutes, that's okay too, then maybe this isn't for you. But a shift is coming. In the next few minutes, you'll discover what is going on with social media anyway, and artificial intelligence. And why this communication shift is happening right now, but also why misunderstandings and conflicts seem to increasing everywhere, and how you can turn this into an advantage for you. Now let me be transparent. I cannot guarantee you'll get the same results I've had. I've spent more than 30 years fine-tuning my own way of handling people, but when I first started, I knew close to nothing. What I can guarantee is this: by the end of this video you'll understand how to avoid unnecessary conflicts, misunderstandings and the daily stress they create many times better than you do today. You won't just understand why some conversations go completely sideways. You know exactly what to change today. So how did we end up here? Why is it still so hard to truly connect? Why do the smallest conversations turn into stress? Why do we sometimes walk away from people we love, feeling more lonely than ever? I spent more than 3 decades helping people improve how they deal with others. And let me tell you this, most people don't know how to communicate with different types of people. And give me a couple of minutes to show you exactly what I mean with this. A lot of us sit in on meetings trying to pay attention. We discuss back and forth and we argue about this and that. Unfortunately, it seems as if no one is listening to us. And when we leave the room, what is wrong with these people? You've been there too. It could be you sitting at your desk, by the way, minding your own business. Enters person X. You spot him or her in the doorway. You feel all your precious energy leave through some inner mental sewer. All of a sudden, the only thing you have the energy for is opening a bottle of... Someone might be on a first date. Prepare the best possible way. Went to the hairdresser. Ironed a new shirt. Memorized topics so they won't look like an uneducated idiot. Downloaded an app even to be a better listener. 20 minutes in this date, the person across the table doesn't respond as planned. In fact, this person is falling more and more silent. And soon the smartphone is on the table, and that was that. Poor communication creates a lot of turmoil. It can cost us time, money, sometimes even a job, if we play our cards the wrong way. But imagine walking into a meeting and people lean in as if they've been waiting for you to talk. Or finishing a dinner with your partner and actually feeling closer to each other, not further apart. Imagine being the one person in any room who can instantly calm conflict, win trust and turn tension into yes. And there are clues if you know what to look for. And once you see the clues, you can adapt, people will actually hear you and communication stops being random. And that's the shift we're looking for. Understanding different personalities is the fastest way to know how to communicate successfully with everyone you meet. This isn't just generic people skills, it's social competence, the ability to understand how your words and actions affects other people's words and actions. It is about finding the right frequency, or if you like, speaking the same language. Because otherwise, let's be honest, it can feel like you're surrounded by idiots. And as a young man, my definition of an idiot was very simple. If you agree with me, you're fine. If you disagree, well, maybe you're an idiot. Do I dare to say this was not a very successful strategy? And deep down, we all believe our way of communicating and meeting people is the best way. That's why we do it. However, no matter how great you are, and I am convinced you are, you will always be in minority. And I'll be honest, there was more than one time I completely wrecked an important meeting because I didn't get this. I didn't know. No one told me. I thought being louder and more passionate would get people on board. Instead, half the room shut down. The other half got super defensive. And the projects, well, they never moved forward. And I was thinking, what is wrong with these people? But the truth was, it wasn't them. It was me. So I began to wonder, are there patterns? Could there be certain things to look for that explain why people act the way they do? And here the real difficulties started, because there were indeed patterns. Only problem was, they were not the same patterns. Different people followed different patterns. How about that? You know the feeling. You try to have a conversation with someone who flips everything upside down. You say black, they say white. You say left, they say right. You say up, they say down. You smile, they frown. It's like they're wired in the opposite direction every time. Let me prove it to you. If I say, let's decide this quickly, one person lights up, good. Another one freezes completely. Same words, opposite reactions. And that's the kind of gap we're talking about. Some talk too much, others hardly say anything at all. Some act before they think, others think a lot before they act, if they ever act. So who's right and who's wrong? Well, I don't know. It's the wrong question. What matters here is we all understand we have to adapt to different people in different ways. Yes, it sounds simple, I know, but we tend to forget about it. The villain here isn't other people. It's that blind spot, the mismatch. It's not random. Once you know what to look for, you will read a room like a map. Now, you don't learn this in school, hardly at any university. So how can you possibly understand everyone? Or perhaps, even more important, how can everyone possibly understand you? Because let's be honest, You wouldn't like it if no one ever listened to you, now would you? But that is exactly what happens when we don't have a framework for communication. So what can you do? It's not just about knowing people are different. You knew that already. The real skill here is understanding what those differences actually look like, which behavioral patterns you need to understand. Once I coached a sales team where one sales rep kept losing deals all the time. He was brilliant, super smart, but he overwhelmed his client with too much detail, shoved it down their throats constantly. Once he learned how to spot certain patterns and adjust accordingly, his close rate doubled within a month. Doubled. Same product, same pitch deck, just customized communication. Did I mention doubled? That's quite good. And no, this is not about manipulating people. It's about finally seeing clearly why your normal way of speaking works for some and backfires with others. The moment you learn how to direct your words, direct your actions in a way that makes sense to them, they will listen to you. And when they listen, you will connect. This is what separates the people no one can stand from the people everyone wants in the room. That's how you build social competence. Now is the best time to start developing excellent social competence. Next year, it's perhaps already too late. At the beginning of this video, I said we are living through the single biggest shift in human communication in modern history. A lot of young people are dropping out from social media platforms. Not only are they tired of all this doom scrolling, they're also fed up with constantly having to figure out what is real out there and what is not. Again, when a generation this big starts moving, we need to pay attention. However, it's not just about internet and social media anymore. It's about the fact that machines, AIs, are suddenly forming our words. Some claim AI is the next industrial revolution, and fair enough, it probably is. Think about it. How many emails did you write completely by yourself this week? And how many were suggested or fine-tuned by some sort of AI tool? How many LinkedIn or Instagram posts, news articles, or personal messages online were actually written by a human being? I have seen AI tools that offer to write my texts. If this is the next revolution, shouldn't we all just tap into it and adapt accordingly? Why not? I mean, at first glance, this doesn't sound all that bad. Just to be clear, AI in itself isn't evil. It's a fantastic tool in many aspects. I use it too. It's efficient, it's fast, it'll make us more productive. Sure, what took a year to accomplish will in the very near future take a week. A week. And forget about Skynet. No. But here's the hidden trap. When it comes to communication, AI has specific limits. It can write the words, but AI doesn't create empathy. Only you can bring the empathy, the presence and human nuance that make those words matter. AI doesn't look you in the eye and catch the difference between sarcasm and irony. I completely understand why AI looks so fresh, so intriguing and so tempting. It feels almost mesmerizing, but it's also a bit of that shiny object syndrome. Here's my prediction. The more we rely on AI to communicate for us, the less we practice communicating with each other. And like any muscle, if you don't use it, you lose it. Now let's not be overly dramatic here. Okay, here's something I noticed in myself though. Even though I know AI tools don't have feelings, I sometimes catch myself apologizing for not knowing things or feeling bad if I think I've been rude or impolite. Why? Well, because my human brain is wired for empathy. So is yours, which is great. It's fantastic. But there's an unexpected danger to this. When we get used to only talking to machines, which we will, where politeness, caution and care don't really matter. We start to untrain that instinct. We stop flexing the muscles of empathy. And if enough of us stop flexing those muscles, society doesn't just lose some nice manners, we start losing our humanity. According to one American study, empathy has declined in our society with over 40% the last 30 years. Most of this after 2005. How will the usage of AI affect human empathy? You tell me. And that's the real risk here, not AI in itself, but what happens to us if we outsource too much of our everyday communication to machines. The good news here, we don't have to go down that path. We can expand our view and learn how to use AI as the amazing tool it is and still invest in the one skill that keeps us human, real connection with real people. That's the safest, most future-proof skill you can possibly have. I mean, imagine landing the promotion because you can calm the room when others cannot. Winning clients that competitors lose, turning nightly fights at home into conversations that end with a smile instead of silence. That's not bad. Now, let's zoom out a little. What happens with a society where people have forgotten how to talk properly to each other? Scroll through social media for 2 minutes and you'll see it. People talking past each other, not really listening, showing the darkest sides, really. The divide between groups keeps widening. And it's not just online banter. These rifts spill into politics, religion, workplaces, families. And we've all seen trivial differences like cats versus dogs spiral into anger and total hostility. Interesting facts for you. For most of human history, our brains were wired for villages of 100 to 150 people. That's a scale evolution prepared us for. But now we're thrown into digital arenas of millions with AI amplifying and shaping our voices. No wonder it feels overwhelming. Again, young people aren't stupid. They have figured this out. And that is why especially Gen Z is quietly walking away from social media. They are not, what would you say, anti-technology. They are pro-connection. They sense the cost of living in this constant noise. And they are choosing differently. This exhaustion of being connected, but not really connecting. I mean, this loss of human connection doesn't feel good for anyone, I think. But let's zoom out even more. Is this about fighting technology? No. History teaches us that every major shift, steam, electricity, IT revolution, created both winners and losers. Farmers lost to steam machines, horses, blacksmiths lost to cars, Blockbuster lost to Netflix, taxi drivers lost to Uber. All of that is true. But it's also true, every time people had the choice, resist the change and fade away, or adapt and prosper. What happens in every industrial revolution is that lots of people will try to fight it. And some people destroy steam machines with hammers so they wouldn't threaten people's jobs. Others looked at it differently. They looked for opportunities. Instead of fighting back, some built railroads. Instead of insisting on keeping their horses and wagons, when the car was introduced, they went into the car industry in one way or the other, and they prospered there. The planet does not stop moving. There is no use fighting the change itself, but there are always different ways to look at the change, because every shift also creates new possibilities. What we have to dare to do is to expand our world, look for openings, because they are there. You just have to find them. I know some of us feel a bit nostalgic sometimes, me too. However, AI is here to stay. Machines will talk to machines. That is inevitable. That's where the opportunity lies. The really philosophically interesting question is, who will deal with the humans? Because while machines handle more and more tasks, the irreplaceable advantage belongs to those who master human connection. Right now we stand at a fork in the road. Are you going with everybody else or are you taking your own path? That's the question. On one path, people are outsourcing their voices to machines to save time. They sound flawless on paper, but they are not real. They lose their empathy. Slowly they stop being trusted, stop being invited, stop being heard actually. They don't lose their jobs overnight. No, they lose something more painful. They lose respect, influence, and they lose relevance. On the other path are the people who lean into human connection, the ones who understand that as long as there are human beings around, we must know how to deal with each other. These are the people who still get called into the room when the stakes are really, really high. I believe human connectors use AI as power tools for speed and clarity, but they double down on the one thing machines cannot do, to make the people feel seen. As more tasks get automated, the value rises on the people who can negotiate, who can calm a room, sell an idea, repair a relationship, and lead through conflict. Here is what I see. People who outsource everything will soon plateau. People who pair AI with human skills accelerate. They are the ones leaders will trust when money, when people or reputation are on the line. It's not about fear. This is economics. Easy to automate goes to silicon. The hard to automate skyrockets in value. Technology will keep evolving. But one thing won't change: the need to build trust, to understand, to be understood. Social competence isn't just a nice to have. This is the new competitive edge. So hang on and I'll show you exactly how to not get stuck in this. When anyone can send the perfect AI written email, what separates you from them? When anyone can create flawless slides, who can stand in front of people and actually convince them? When conflicts flare up between spouses, teams, clients, no AI in the world can step in and save that moment. Only a human being can do that. And some people say, it's all about scale now. How much you can get from the machine in the shortest amount of time. They say quality doesn't matter anymore. Well, maybe. For some people this might feel true, but it's not for me. And as I am not unique in any way, maybe it is also not true for you. You cannot outsource your ability to connect. You cannot automate trust. You cannot delegate empathy. In a world where more and more people communicate through machines, the value of those who master real conversations hits the roof. And that's why right now, as you clearly can see here, is the crucial time to develop excellency in social competence. Right now, it is the safest, most future-proof skill you can possibly have. Not just for your career, not just for your business, but for your life. Every month you delay this, AI takes over more and more of the surface-level work, and the premium on real human connectors skyrockets. You either rise now or risk being left unheard. If you take this chance, you're not competing with AI anymore. You're doing the one thing no machine can ever replace. You're being human. Now is the time to develop exceptional communication skills. Now when everybody else is running in the opposite direction. Because the shift isn't coming, it's already here. The best way to develop excellent social competence is to build your own self-awareness. But wait, let's pause here for a moment. Aren't we talking about communication? Well, remember what I said earlier. In order to be a great communicator, you're gonna need social competence. And social competence is the ability to understand how your words and actions affect other people's words and actions. And in order to build social competence, you will need self-awareness. Why? Well, if you're not aware of your own tendencies, of your tone, your patterns, the way people perceive you, then everything else becomes a guessing game. Sometimes you need to speed up, other times you have to slow down. Sometimes you have to give more facts, other times you have given way too much data already. When communication is guesswork, misunderstandings multiply. Small issues become big arguments. Good intentions turn into bad outcomes. Relationships, personal, professional, start to break down. Research found that while 95% of people believe they are self-aware, in reality only 10 to maybe 15 actually are. That's quite a gap. Quite a big potential, let's call it. Let's stay on the positive side here, shall we? Imagine calling a travel agency up and saying, I need a ticket to London. They say, no problem. And then they will say, from where would you like to go? Imagine you then answer, never mind that, just get me the ticket. Now, how will they solve this? Well, easy answer, they will not. Because you can't get on a right plane if you don't know where you are. It's the same in, for example, verbal communication. Every time you interact, there are 2 dots on the map, 2 points on the map. The destination, where you want to go, who would you like to connect with, and the starting point, where you are right now, which is your current state, your style, your tone, energy, impression, all of it. The trip to London will look very different if you start from Greenland compared to if you start from, let's say, New Zealand. Those are not the same flights, and you will always be the starting point in any kind of communication, be it physical or verbal. You. Think about it. 9 out of 10 people move through the world convinced they see themselves clearly, when in fact they don't. They misjudge this completely. They assume their words mean one thing when others hear something very, very different. The manager who thinks they're being direct, but their team hears them as harsh. The friend who believes they're being funny, but everyone else experiences them as quite insensitive. The partner who insists they're just trying to help, but it sounds very much like criticism. Without self-awareness, you're navigating life with a distorted mirror. What you think people see is not what they actually see about you. Instead, imagine walking into a room knowing exactly how you come across. That's not guesswork, that's power. And it creates a massive opportunity, because if only 10% of people are truly self-aware, imagine what happens when you step into that minority. Suddenly you're operating on a completely different level. A lack of self-awareness doesn't just cause these little awkward moments. It creates ripple effects that can shape entire lives. Poor communication costs time, money, energy, trust. It ruins collaborations at work. It erodes intimacy in marriages. It turns friendships into misunderstandings. Have you ever felt like this in a room full of people? Most of us have. It's that feeling of being surrounded by people, yet not truly being seen. One of the most painful human experiences, and it often comes from a lack of real connection that starts with self-awareness. And on a deeper level, it can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, even PTSD in some cases, because constant conflict and disconnection wear us down. How do I actually come across to others? Do I interrupt too much? How do I respond when I'm stressed? Am I listening as much as I think I do? By the way, if you find this helpful, you don't have to subscribe or anything, but please stay till the end, because I will give you my own system for how I've chosen to manage life and people the last 30 years. You don't want to miss that. You could, of course, share this video with your friends if you like. Lots of insights here, like this insight. Building self-awareness sometimes means looking in the mirror and not liking what you see. And still, every breakthrough in communication begins here. Good news is, once you start this journey, everything changes. You start to notice patterns in yourself. You recognize how people respond to your words, to your tone, to your body language. You see the connection between your actions and their reactions. Once you see this, you can adapt, you can adjust, and suddenly, conversations that used to go sideways now move on forward. On the micro level, the small everyday moments, where to live, what car to buy, how to raise your kids, can spark endless conflict if there's no self-awareness. On the macro level, think about the biggest issues in society today. Politics, religion, culture, wars have been fought, and society is totally torn apart because groups of people stopped talking to each other or never knew how to do it in the first place. And the principle is the same in both cases. When communication breaks down, problems occur, and the first step toward fixing communication is not changing them. It is understanding you. Please note, self-awareness is not self-criticism. It is only a matter of self-understanding. Here is, though, a major challenge. If you try to build self-awareness alone, you'll spend years doing what most people do. Trial and error. And of course, trial and error is part of life, sure. But when it comes to communication and people, the cost of every failed experiment is quite high. It can damage trust, delay opportunities, and hurt important relationships. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. But every wrong guess means another misunderstanding, another conflict, another closed door. I've seen this again and again and again. Brilliant, well-meaning people who just couldn't quite get through to others because they were trying to figure it out from scratch by themselves. What they need is a system. The best way to gain a higher level of self-awareness is to use some kind of already established system. It goes so much faster. There are frameworks that map out the patterns of different behaviors, proven tools that reveal not only who you are, but also how others see you. System that gives you the language to make sense of the differences and the clarity to adapt without losing yourself in the process. Once you have a system, self-awareness stops being vague. It becomes crystal clear instead. It becomes actionable, let's say. Instead of wondering, why do people react to me that way? You start to see, oh, that's because I tend to do this and they value that. Instead of thinking, why do some conversations feel like walking straight into a wall? You're going to realize there is a pattern here. And once I understand it, I know how to approach it. Imagine 4 musicians, each playing their own tune without any sheet music. What happens? Chaos. Everyone is out of sync. But when they are all using the same sheet music, the same system, they create harmony. Without a system, you get noise. With a system, you get music. That's exactly what happens in human interaction too. Without a system, every conversation feels like rolling the dice. Who knows what the score's gonna be? Oh. With a system, you reduce the guesswork. Without a system, it's a lot of trial and error. With a system, you don't leave it to chance. Without a system, misunderstanding, conflict. With a system, harmony. And that's why for anyone serious about building social competence and become an excellent communicator, the next logical step is always the same. Stop relying on trial and error and start using a system that works. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, but people have always been different. Or maybe, aren't personality systems too simplistic? Or maybe you're saying to yourself now, you shouldn't put people in boxes. And I get it. I heard this for 30 years. People are different and every system will make some kind of simplification of a human personality. That is true. But why? Well, the human mind is super complex. And I prefer a system that works in my daily life instead of one that is 100% precise. Those doesn't exist anyway. I have talked to a number of neuroscientists and they all say exactly the same thing. We do not fully understand the human brain and therefore we don't understand the human mind. In order to meet it the best possible way, we definitely need some kind of system. And as for putting people in boxes, no, that's not what this is about at all. A framework doesn't limit people. It's not about labels, it's about patterns. And once you see the patterns, everything changes. Maybe you're saying to yourself now, but wait, isn't this just common sense? Yes, it should be. But if common sense were enough, we wouldn't be arguing with our partners or losing clients or leaving meetings totally drained. This is what I have learned from working 30 years within this field. Common sense is not common practice unless you have a system. So the only real question is, which system works? Which one is proven, simple, actually usable in everyday life? Well, if you followed me this far, chances are this message actually resonates with you. Are you going to get an advantage over everybody else? Well, here's what's going to happen. Every week you wait, the gap widens. Start now while the advantage is still real. If you ever lost a deal you should have won or left a conversation at home feeling more distant than before, what if there was something that solves exactly those things? What kind of system should you try in order to make daily communication work better for the rest of your life? We mentioned trial and error before, which is of course easy to understand. It's a real life experience, let's say. It's very costly, very painful and so on. I would call it unreliable. System-wise, no. It's going to take you absolutely forever and it's going to be very, very risky. You can always go in the absolute opposite direction. You can go to university for 5 years and study psychology. It's very, very long. 5 years is a long time. It's very theoretical. Can you apply it in your life immediately? I would not say so. Academically, superb, obviously. Forgetful in real life. Again, theory is one thing and practice is something else. It costs you years and a lot of money. If you're going to be a specialist, why not? Then you have established models. You have Myers-Briggs. I think it's overly complex. It's not so easy to understand. It's interesting, a little bit vague perhaps, quite popular. Some people criticize it. People tend to forget letters. It's hard to use it again in your daily life. I would say it's a moderate cost and time, but it's not super perfect actually. Maybe more fun than actually useful. Then you have the Big Five theory. Kind of academic also. It's not really easy to practice in your daily work because you can't see it. There's no graphics to use in the same way. Strong science, oh absolutely. It's a bit abstract, I would say, and it's quite time intensive to use. Maybe for researchers or if you are into psychology, it could be very useful. Then you have the DISC method. It's very simple, it's colors, it's so much easier to remember a red and yellow behavior instead of a high D or an I with low C. Or an ENTJ personality, or was it ITPK, was it? Well, red and yellow. You can use it immediately. And it's backed by behavioral science, 60 million analysis on a huge database. It's easy to recall under stress because of the colors. It's very pedagogical. Quick, it's quite affordable. I would say it's the best balance. Now, maybe the question isn't which model is the best. The question is rather which model fits you the best. I put together something very practical, the Surrounded by Idiots method, based on the DISC model. It requires 0 skills beforehand, very little of your time. The upside is infinite. Now please observe, this is not a subscription, but I will keep adding value to it anyways, because I think this is what the world needs right now. Now I cannot guarantee this will work for you the same way it has for me, or for millions of people who read my book, Surrounded by Idiots. That's my experience based on my situation. Your situation might be different. But if this feels interesting for you, check out the link in the description box below. It is just an invitation to take a look and then make up your own mind.